Hey guys, good morning, happy Father's Day to you. I say good morning, happy Father's Day to you. I know right now it's a moment where we're taking each other in. I get it, I understand. Listen, if you're a visitor here, if you're a guest, first time guest, don't get scared. Don't be like, oh, we went Father's Day, Edward Scissorhands was talking. No. Next week it's going to be completely abnormal in another way. So, I am so thrilled and happy to be here, especially on Father's Day. I've got 3 kids of my own, and we live in Los Angeles area, just north of LA, in a little beach town called Ventura. And so we've done the Happy Father's Day thing this morning, and I'm thankful to see fathers in here. I saw that there are 2 dads here. There's a first-time dad, and the one gentleman here with the beard. You stood up and you're like apprehensive. You're like that. But I know it's just because you're tired. I get it. You're worn out. It's the first time dad, and I remember so well being the first time dad. There was so much difference. Every parent will relate to this if you have more than one child, especially if you have 3+ kids or 3 kids. There's something that happens at that first time, where they're trusting you and you're so concerned. Like everything is a big deal. Remember that when you just had one kid and everything was a big deal? You were checking on them all the time, and are they okay? They're breathing. Oh, it's okay. Okay, and then, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Second kid, you're like, Third kid, you can hear stuff crash, and as long as you hear them crying, you're like, they're fine. That's. So I'm so thrilled to be here on Father's Day, to be here in Texas. And I told you I live in Los Angeles, California, but I was born in Dallas, Texas. And I'm happy to be in Texas. And the story I'm going to tell you today has to do with a place I was in Texas where something happened to me. But we're going to share that in just a moment. But before we do that, what I want to do is I want to say if there's any guests here, if you're visitors here that maybe came in because, see, what I do is about 70% of what I do is outside of the church. In secular venues. When I say secular venues, like comedy clubs, I've been on a couple of Comedy Central specials and things like that. So I've got an online following that sometimes shows up if they see that I'm going to be doing something somewhere. And the thing is a lot of the online following, a lot of the followers, they don't believe in God at all. They don't believe in God. And so when they show up to a place like this, and they thought it was going to be like a comedy club thing in the morning, and you're here, if you're here this morning and you've come to the realization that you're in a church, it's okay. Like, I know everything that you were afraid was going to happen has already happened. And you're still all right. We were singing songs. There were people lifting their hands. I get it. I know you're scared. And us that are a part of the church, listen, we make no apology. If you follow me on Facebook or something like that, if you're one of the followers, here's the thing: is I never make apology for serving Jesus and for believing in Jesus Christ. So that if you showed up this morning, you're like, I'm not into this thing. That's okay. Just stay here. Stick it out to the end. We're going to trick you into getting saved. It's going to be fine. So, no, but I'm so thankful that anyone would show up this morning into the house of God where we can celebrate a living God. And that's the reason I say that, is because, listen, there's nothing that we're ashamed of. This is not a funeral service. That's why we're excited. We're excited because this is a time of celebration. We celebrate a living God. And so there's nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to be ashamed about. We are excited to be in the house of God. That's just how it is. Okay, so nothing scary is going to happen. It's going to be fine. Everyone settle down. I know I look abrasive. It's fine. Boxes and snakes aren't coming out till the end either. So, I want everyone to just bow your head, close your eyes. Let's go to God in prayer. Father God, help us. Amen. I was in Wichita Falls, Texas. I was in Wichita Falls, Texas a while back, and I was just stopping at the Starbucks to get coffee. I call it the Starbucks, not Starbucks. I call it the Starbucks because I'm half Mexican. If you have any Mexican to you, you understand that you put the in front of a place that you're going. Like we're going to go to the Walmarts. That's what we do. That's some of you understand that. You're brown and proud. Don't say it too loud right now. But I'm half Mexican, half white boy. So that's what I am, half Mexican, half white boy, which means I hire myself for a lot of jobs. But I don't pay myself very well. So See, I hit both sides there. Okay. But my lawn is immaculate. Speaking of nice lawns, as a Mexican, I cannot help but notice how beautiful the grass is out there. I'm like, surely you have Hispanics that go to this church. Everyone offended yet? Okay, so. Thing is, since I'm Mexican, I say this thing. You white people that are laughing right now, how dare you? That's not. Be a part of the altar call later. And so there I am, and I'm at the Starbucks, and I've got a problem with Starbucks. It's not some kind of big moral issue that I have with Starbucks. Here's my problem with Starbucks. One, I'm not a coffee snob, okay? I'm not one of those guys who I have to have a certain kind of coffee and this kind of blend and all this stuff. I'm just not. I was years and years in tour buses on the road, and we'd stop at these little bitty gas stations back when coffee was normal. It wasn't a fancy thing. It was just in these two round glass pots. One had the green rim and one had the orange rim. Remember that? And you just get your coffee. It had been sitting there for days just under that heat. It had that, the whole bottom layer was just a thick tarish thing, you know. And you drank it, you didn't complain because it was coffee. That's all I want. I just want a man's coffee. But I'm not trying to impress somebody with my drink order and all. And Starbucks makes you do that. They do not let you just say, I'd like a medium coffee. They don't let you do that. They have their own language. That's what I have a problem with Starbucks, because I'm there and I have to say, you know what a small is in Starbucks language? Does anyone know? It's called a tall. That doesn't make sense, guys. In no way. If a very small person came up here and I said, look at this very tall person right here. You're like, what's wrong with that guy? But in Starbucks, it's like, of course, of course. And so the other thing is, I want a medium roast. I want just a regular, like a lighter medium roast. I'm not trying to prove something. You know, I just want a normal tasting coffee, and that's kind of a lighter roast. And the light roast at Starbucks, does anyone know what the lighter roast is called? Does anyone know? It's called a blonde. I'll tell you why this bothers me. It is just awkward feeling for a grown man to look at another person across the counter and say, I'd like a tall blonde. Something, it's got a creepiness to it, you know what I mean? There was a barista one time, I said, I'd like a tall blonde, and he looked back at me, he's like, don't we all, man, don't we all? It's like, all right. And then the medium, that's what I really have a problem. If you want a medium, it's called a grande. Grande is the thing. I'm saying grande like that, which disturbs me. That's what the problem I have. I told you I'm half Mexican. If you have any kind of ethnicity to you, I don't care if it's Irish, I don't care what it is, it's going to come out. If you order something on a menu and you have some Irish descent, you have some Scottish, you're going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like you all of a sudden turn full-blooded that. You know what I mean? And so when I have to, as a half Mexican, when I have to say grande like that, because I want to say, like, I feel like my whole ancestry in the past is just looking down upon me going, mijo, what have you become? You know, like, I'd like a grande. No! Because I want to say, orale, I'd like a grande. Orale. But they don't know what I'm talking about because no Mexicans work at Starbucks. And so I'm just there. I'm wanting my coffee. I'm standing in line. I'm just waiting for my coffee, okay? And as I'm waiting for my coffee, I'm about 3 people back, and there's this gentleman that is sitting right here. He's just sitting right there, and he's got his back towards me, but he's turned all the way around. He's an elder gentleman. He's turned all the way around. Now, from this point on, I want you to pretend like you are me in this situation, so you'll absorb really what has happened in this story, because if you just hear it, it's like, but if it's you that's receiving it, it makes it a whole different deal, because he's looking at me, and he's looking like this. This is the expression, excuse me. This is the expression that I have that he has on his face. He's like this. He's going. He's just looking at me, and I'm thinking, he's just disgusted by my presence. I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I know this guy. Like, I don't think I owe him money or anything. Like, why is he so, and he's just like, and he's for about 30 seconds, he won't turn around. He's just looking straight at, just like up and down. And remember, now, how would you feel if you were just being stared at? All you want is coffee. And that's the other big factor here is I haven't even had coffee yet in the morning time. You know what I mean? Like, look at this. This is after coffee. Can you imagine before? Before, it's like this. Like Jack Sparrow walking around. And so, is my hair messed up now? Now, this is called the wake and go. I wake and I go. Really trying to fall in line with the Old Testament guys. So he's looking at me like that. And then he finally breaks the silence. And this is what he says to me. Remember, you're me, okay? Take this in as this is being done to you. And how would you feel? He says this. He goes, who are you supposed to be? That's very hurtful. And I was like, how could he just, who are you supposed to be? But then when he asked that, my mind started scrolling back to like find an answer for him. And I was doing that thing. See, I could tell right then by the weirdness of the situation that God was trying to speak to me through this. That's how God speaks to me. Some people get, and I wish I was one of those people. Some, you see them on TV, the preachers on TV, you'll hear them tell the story how God spoke to me. God said, it was 3:48 a.m. in the morning. And the Lord said, my son, I have a word for you. And I said, yes, Lord, thy servant heareth. I want that. I don't get that. You know what I get? Who are you supposed to be? That's how God talks to me. And I was thinking, I don't know how deep this guy wants to go with this answer, but my mind was taking me to those places. You know how your brain, it works so quickly, like you can process a lot of thoughts. And I started answering that question. I started coming up with the answers to that question from different seasons of my life. In different seasons of my life, I could answer that question with no problem. I had a confident, stern answer that I was sure of in different seasons of my life. Who are you supposed to be? I can tell you the first season was this. I would have answered, if you would have asked me that question when I was about 5 years old, 5 to 7 years old, there's no doubt in my mind, you know who I'm supposed to be? A superhero. That's who I'm supposed to be. Every guy in here, you know the feeling. Remember when you were little? There was that thing where you were going to grow up and be a superhero? Every male that's ever been born has within them a superhero soundtrack that plays. Women, you need to know this about guys. Guys are simple to understand. Women, you're a little more complicated. Guys are a lot simpler. Women, why? Because, see, I believe that you're drawn back to the thing you were created from. Women, why are you so relational? Why? Because you were created from the side of another person, from a rib you were created from. But see, men, that's why you're always drawn to relationships. Men, we weren't created from the side of another person. You know what we were created from? Dirt. It's that simple. It's that simple. We're drawn back to dirt. We want to make forts out of dirt. What do we want to do? We want to own land. Why? That's our dirt. And so there I am. I wanted to be a superhero. Every male has that superhero soundtrack. It plays on the inside. It goes like this. It goes like this. Bum, ba, bum. It's on the inside of us. It stirs around. When we're little, we hear it, bum, ba, bum, a little bitty infant child, a mother holding their infant baby boy. And she's like, what is he going to be when he grows up? Nay, not what is he going to be. He already is, bum, ba, bum. And he's like, nyeh. He's wanting to fight crime. And then we get a little older, and it gets bolder. We jump out from corners. Remember, we jump out, bum, ba, bum. And we wear our outfits. Remember the outfits? My son, 12 years old, he had these cool outfits. He came up in a whole different era than I did with the outfits. I'm 43. In my day, we didn't have the outfits they have now. Now they have, you see the masks. They're so cool. The Batman mask, it has the features in there. You feel like Batman. You feel like Iron Man. That has muscles built in. Wait, we wouldn't even have to go to the gym, just wear superhero suits. Not in my generation. We didn't have that. In my generation, we had that thin, flimsy plastic. Remember the thinnest plastic ever known to mankind that they would make the outfits with? They would have around Halloween time. I remember we would go to the Walmarts. My Nana would take us around Halloween time. Mijo, come on, let's go to the Walmarts. Everyone get in the car. But Nana, there's 15 of us. It doesn't matter. Don't talk back. Sit in the ashtray. We'd go to the Walmarts, and I'd say, Nana, look, the Batman suit. And she'd look at it. It's that flimsy, real thin. If the wind blows, it rips apart, And remember the belts? Remember the utility belts where they were printed? I don't know who was in charge of this, but for some reason they thought a child's torso was this small because the belts were always up here like a necklace, And you'd wear that. You'd be all proud. And that plastic mask, it never fit. The holes never lined up with He had one eyeball. And how did they secure that mask? Remember this? The little thin rubber band. You've never seen a thinner piece of rubber. It is so thin. Like, I don't know what meeting that was at. It's like, how thin are our rubber bands? We've got to save on that. We've got them this thin. Make it thinner. There was no way to put it. And they would secure the rubber band to the sides of the mask with staples. Where the temple of the child's face is, it'll be fun. My Nana would look at this, and Mijo, let me see. And she'd look at the thing, $11. We're not going to pay $11 for this meal. Look, I got the material at home. I'm going to make you the Batman suit. That's how it'd go down. And I knew that she could do it. I knew she could physically make the suit. But what I also knew, and this was problematic for my situation, is that I knew that we don't have all the material that we need in the Batman colors. That means there's going to be additional colors in my Batman suit. And there always was. Orange would show up, a big patch of Mijo, it's because it's Batman and Robin. It's the dynamic duo. And you didn't talk back. You never said anything because my Nana believed in timeout. It was not today's timeout. Timeout back in my Nana's day was a whole different thing. Today, you've seen Nanny 911, those shows where the kids are, and they're saying all this stuff. And no, now you be quiet. What I want you to do is I want you to go stand in the timeout chair over there. And I want you to, whenever you're ready, you can come back. Whenever you're ready, you can come. And you can come back and you can play with the... That's called vacation to us adults. We work all year so we can go away. My Nana's version of timeout was this. My Nana's version of timeout was the time between when you got knocked out and when you woke back up. What happened? Mijo, you got timeout. There wasn't a lot of timeouts needed either, I can tell you. There wasn't a lot of because I said so. Why? Because I said so. Why? Because time out. I'm going to be a superhero. My son was the same. He wanted to be a superhero. When he was 3.5 years old, he was in my sister's wedding. It was really cool. She had him, but the problem is he always wore a Superman suit. Always wore a Superman suit. So the only way I could convince him, I thought I was smart. I said, Evan, here's the deal. You're going to be in the wedding, but you're going to wear a Clark Kent suit. I thought I was smart. I didn't know that Evan, he snuck his Superman suit to the wedding. And he went to the bathroom and put his suit on under. And in the wedding, you can find this on YouTube. In the wedding, he gets to the front, he walks all the way up, he turns around, and he rips open. Every man in there was like, bum, bum, bum. We're like, I remember that. are you supposed to be? There's no doubt. I'm going to be a superhero the rest of my life. When I was a kid, if you would have asked me, I would have sincerely told you and answered that question with, I'm going to be a superhero. But I didn't become a superhero. It didn't. When Pastor Mark introduced me a minute ago, he didn't say, now, today, you've all seen him on the news fighting fires and saving people. We're thrilled to have Elijah Man. And when I land, hello, everybody. No. The thing I was so confident about didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to work out. And that's how life goes, guys. Life sometimes doesn't work out the way we thought it was going to. Yet we were so adamant that it was going to. We put a definition of ourselves and who we're supposed to be, and we're so confident about it that when it doesn't work out sometimes, it leaves us in a state where we're embarrassed. And we've been knocked out of wind, and we don't show up around different people. We don't come to the church anymore because that thing didn't work out. Or we've just given up on certain things because we thought this was going to be the thing, and it ended up not being the thing like we thought it would be. Maybe you're in that season today. Maybe you're in the season where you thought that definition that you had before was going to be the thing for your life. That's who you're supposed to be. And all of a sudden you find you're not that person anymore. You're not in that position anymore. You're not in that relationship anymore. And what do you do with that? Because you're still here. And you feel like you failed at this thing. I believe that God sent me today from Los Angeles, California, where he lives, to hear for this weekend to speak into your life. That the season that didn't work out for you is not going to define you, but it's going to prepare you for the thing that he has for you in life. I believe that's why I came today. You see, because Romans chapter 12, verse 2, it says this. It says, don't be conformed to this world. That means you don't have to be like everybody else in this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means a different way of thinking, that you transform. You literally changed by the way that you think differently now. There's a revelation that happens, and you see things like you haven't seen them before. A revelation is this. It's simply understanding something that you thought you understood in the first place. Having a true understanding, you ever thought you knew the right words to a song? Then all of a sudden, that moment of revelation happened, and you heard, and maybe you were singing in worship, and that song, How Great Is Our God, and remember that song, How Great Is Our God, sing with me, but you thought it was How Gray Is Our God, because that sounds biblical, How gray is our God, he's got the big Gandalf beard, sing with me, How Gray Is Our God, and you hear people beside you, and they're singing, How Great Is Our God, and you're like, read your Bible, dude, it's gray. And you look up at the words on the screen, and it's like, that says great also. And that moment comes upon you where you realize that what you thought was the truth before, and you stood for, and you declared publicly, it wasn't the actual truth. And then something happens in you. Not only do you embrace the new thing, the revelation, but you become the police of that song. You're waiting to hear someone else sing it wrong. So that way you can say, no, how gray? Did you say how gray? Because a revelation will do that. And see, that's what this is the Bible is saying, don't be conformed to this world, don't be like everybody else, but be transformed, changed by the renewing of your mind so you can prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of God. God has a perfect plan for your life. We think we know the end of the story. But friend, I'm telling you, if you're here today, you don't know the end of the story. You don't know the full definition. God sees things from an elevation that we don't. There's so much more that he understands about our life and our future that we just don't get yet. And God knows that. But we want to, just because we have a little bit of understanding, we want to say, I'm going to be a superhero. Now, here's the beauty of God. God was not, during that season of my life, in heaven looking down going, Elijah doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it. Look at this ignorant kid. David, come over here. Put your harp down. Look at this guy. Don't argue with me, I'm God. David's feisty. God wasn't mad at me for not having a full understanding of who he's created me to be on this earth. He's not. He's not mad at you that the thing that you thought was going to be the thing, that it didn't work out. He wasn't mad at you during that season. Listen, God's not upset at you. He's not angry at you just because of the last season of your life or even the season you may be in right now that you know there needs to be adjustments made. He's not upset at you. What he wants you to do is get a clearer understanding of what it is that he has for your life. Because the next season was this. The next season of my life, I was 14 years old. And I heard a style of music that came out of nowhere. It's called rap music. It changed my life. It did. You think I'm kidding? I'd never heard anything like this. All of a sudden, I heard these guys, their literal name was the Fat Boys. They enjoyed eating. And they rapped about it. And one guy, he would do the beat. It was the human beatbox. And he'd go, oh, that was the instruments. It's like, what is this? I heard it, and I was like, whoa. And I wanted to become a rapper. Not only did I want to become a rapper, I did become a rapper. My name was no longer Elijah Tindall. My name became E.T. Fresh. Oh, yeah. E.T. Fresh. Oh, yeah. Who are you supposed to be? If you would have asked me that, if that gentleman would have asked me that back then, there's no doubt in my mind who I'm supposed to be. E.T. Fresh. Oh, yeah. I didn't have evil intent in my heart. I wasn't trying to worship Satan. I didn't hate God. This is really what I thought the answer to that question was. And that's pretty much how we live our life. We're not trying to do the wrong thing on purpose. We just think that the thing we're doing is the right thing and is the full completion of the thing. But today, when Pastor Mark brought me up here, he didn't say, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to have our church here this morning. You've heard him on the radio. Would you get up here, E.T. Fresh? Come on, say hi to the people. And I'm like, no. My rap career did not work out the way that I thought it was going to. But see, there's something that happened in the season of E.T. Fresh, and I'll tell you what it is. In the season of E.T. Fresh, I was able to grow thick skin. Until E.T. Fresh, when I was 14 years old, existed, I was very thin-skinned. I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want people to notice me. I stuttered horribly. I couldn't talk. I was kind of bullied and picked on kind of character because I lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. You know what doesn't work in Little Rock, Arkansas? This. And so I just didn't want to stand out at all, but something happened in E.T. Fresh season because I had to be involved every day at lunchtime at Mapleville Junior High in Little Rock, Arkansas in freestyle battles where we'd battle each other at lunch. And I don't know if you know anything about rap music, but in freestyle battles, here's what happens. The guy who can cut the next guy down the best and make it rhyme, that's the guy that wins. And so if you're getting chewed up and spit out over and over and over, you start developing thick skin. Why does that matter? I'll tell you why that matters. Because 40-year-old Elijah one day opened up my Twitter account, and then I saw about 2,500 negative messages. And I was like, what's going on here? People were saying they hate me. People were saying all kinds of weird. And I was like, what's going on? And so I tracked it down. And what it was there's a famous celebrity comic that tweeted a tweet that said this. It said, it's a shame that some of the most brilliant comedic minds that are coming out of Hollywood today are still naive enough to believe in God. And then they only attached one name to it, and that was my name. And I was like, what? But honestly, it didn't affect me much. I mean, what I heard from that was like, hey, they called me a brilliant comedic mind. So it's half full. By the end of that day, I had over 10,000 very upset, hateful, mean comments about me and my family, people that didn't know me, but they were just having that. I mean, they so much horrible stuff. I had threats on my life. I had all kinds of crazy chaos happening. And do you know how much that affected me? I'll tell you how much. 0.0%. You know why? Because E.T. Fresh existed in 1988. At Mableville Junior High. See, God wasn't upset at me when I was a junior high kid thinking I was going to be a rapper forever. He wasn't in heaven going, no, it's not E.T. Fresh. Look at this idiot. David, are you still playing your harp? Shut up. No. See, had E.T. Fresh not existed, I wouldn't be prepared for the life I live right now. Because I would have had thin skin. It would have crushed me. And it would have shut me down to have that much negative stuff go on. But it didn't affect me at all. You know why? Because E.T. Fresh. Oh, yeah. The season that didn't work out like you thought it was going to work out possibly was only there to help prepare you for the next season. God sees the big picture. God sees the end results. You don't understand. We want to put this definition. We want people to think that we've got it all together. We want people to think that we know and we're right on track and all this stuff. And all of a sudden we're all shiny and stuff. I don't know. What is it about us Christians that when we came into this thing, we knew that, man, if it's not for God, I don't know what else. I mean, we were dying and going to hell for eternity, separated from God. Then all of a sudden we became Christians, and now we act like we've got everything figured out and everything is perfect in our life. Guys, everything's not perfect in anyone's life. No one in this room is perfect. No one is. You think that you are. It's easy to prove you're not. We'll just hand the microphone to the person who lives with you. That's it. But we want each other to think that we've got it all. How are you? I'm blessed and highly favored. And your spouse is like, you were just cussing at me in the parking lot. Talking about blessed and highly favored in the lobby. And now you're eating a donut. You know you're supposed to watch your sugar level. Just believe in God to heal me from diabetes. The common denominator, for those of you who may not be a believer in here, the common denominator for those of us who are believers is this. We've all come to the place where we've said we're screwed up. We can't do this on our own. We need the help of a bigger thing than us, and that is the God of the universe. That's what we're not trying to come across as being perfect on this earth. We're trying to come across as having a relationship with a perfect God. That's what this is about. And we want to, who are you supposed to be? Oh, I'm not. And we have to be so prideful in that answer, and the problem with that is when it doesn't work out sometimes, then we've taken so much of our identity and put it in that thing that it makes us shut down and back away from moving forward where God has for us. We've got to use and see the things that didn't work out as possibly the things that condition us for this next season of your life. Here's what I know right now. I know that God's not mad at you. I know that God's not upset at you. I know that God's not disappointed in you. I know that God is just wanting you to have clarity on what the assignment that He's given you is for this season. Me as a father, I can tell my kids, hey, kids, you need to go upstairs and clean your rooms. Because here's what I know. I don't even have to have a prophetic moment here. I can tell you the truth about what's happening in Los Angeles, California with my kids right now. I see into the spirit realm, and here's what it is. My kids' rooms are a mess. I know it. You know why? Because I know my kids. And I, the father, can give them instructions. You guys shut down the Xbox, shut down the TV, shut down the games, put your phones down. No one's doing anything until you go up there and you clean your rooms. And I send them up to clean their rooms. Now, I, the father, have given them an assignment. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for them to act on that assignment. I'm looking for them to have obedience in that. I am not looking to go up there in 5 minutes and find perfection. You know why? I know my kids are not this. There's no way. I won't see those rooms perfect in 5 years. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for obedience. I'm looking for progress. See, success is not perfection. Success is progress. And God is wanting progress out of us. He's wanting us to act on the assignment that He's given us. And here's what I know also is my kids will go up there and they'll start the process. And then they'll get easily distracted by things that they find in their rooms that they forgot that they had. That I, the Father, have given them. And that's how we do. We sometimes start working on something and then we get distracted. And so what do? As a father, I remind them that I'm coming to check. I remind them that the Father is coming. They don't know the hour or the day, but they know the season. Some biblical people in here. And so what I do is I stand at the steps and I do that thing where I make them think I'm coming up the steps, like that. Same thing you do in the restroom when someone's doing the door, like that, in a public restroom, and you don't want to say someone's in here, but you want them to know someone's in there. We never say a word. We just go, no, we're present. They don't go away either. Don't understand what this means. I let them know the Father's coming. I send them signs to remind them to get back to the assignment. We're surrounded by signs and wonders, trying to remind us to get back to the assignment that God has for our lives. But sometimes we get so distracted by the mess of the room that we forget to just do what we can right now. Maybe right now, you're in a season and it didn't work out. And you feel so surrounded by the clutter and the mess that you don't know what to do. You think it's over. You think that's it. I can't function anymore. And I can't go there because I'm embarrassed because all those people, I answered the question, who are you supposed to be? I answered it with boldness and forever I'm going to be this. There was a time I thought I was going to be a radio DJ because after my rap career, I went into radio. And when I went into radio, I became a guy named Skywalker. And the problem with me going into radio, remember how I said that I couldn't talk? I had a stuttering problem. See, in radio, that helped me clear up the stuttering problem because it worked great for my rap career. Biggity, 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 that worked fine, but not in radio. All that was preparing me. Okay? All of that was preparing me for the season of life I'm in right now. I started this life stuttering, shy, timid, afraid. And in that season, God saw someone who speaks into the nations. That's what God saw. I didn't see that. So the answer to who are you supposed to be, it can't come from us. It comes from God. And so I finally found it, guys. My true answer for who are you supposed to be. I finally found it. I can finally, Pastor Mark, say it with confidence. You know what the answer is? The answer is this. I don't know. And it's so liberating. It's like a breath of fresh air. I don't have to be bound by a definition that someone else puts on me, a title that someone else puts on me. I listen to God. Jesus said the things that I do, it's only because I see my Father do it. I just follow Him, and we wake up every morning. And so if you wake up this morning, you woke up and you're like, I just don't know, and there's no... Listen, if you woke up without a chalk outline around your body, there is potential to have a great day. And if you woke up with one, God's already doing great things in your life. The last failure was not the definition of your life. The last thing that didn't work out was not your stopping place. That was just a season in your life that God is going to use you to speak to other people in their life when they need it. He's strengthening you for the next season. He's preparing you. And at the end, when we're sitting on our beds at 120 years old, because I think that's about it. That's the cutoff time. 120 is if everything works out. Even after 120, you don't want to be, okay, pull the plug, we're done. But we can look back and we're like, oh, that's what was up with that season. That's what was up with that failed relationship. That's what was up with that thing that I thought. God ends up using everything to strengthen you for this season. Friend, if you're in here and you're in that season right now, here's what I would say. Don't get distracted by the clutter. Don't get all caught up because it didn't work out. What do you do from here? You do what you can. Identify something that you can do. You put your hand to the plow and you start working. You start moving. It's amazing to me that it's easier to steer a moving vehicle than it is a parked one. Even if it's going in the wrong direction, you can do a U-turn. But if you're sitting still, no one's going anywhere. So if you're sitting still because there's so much clutter in the room, just remember, God's not looking for perfection of the room. God's looking for obedience of the child. He's a good God. He's wanting us to obey him.